What's good, Commander Fans? Just want to make a super quick video here. It is late. Like I said, my schedule is a little off for this week, but I should get back on track next week, or I'm going to make a couple pre-recorded videos. Don't have a lot of time to put the intro in. I know some people have been asking for the intro to be put in on the videos. I'm going to definitely get back to that as well as the off season goes along. I guess either I'll talk about Deebo first instead of talking about Bobby Price. But I will get a Bobby Price. They just signed Bobby Price to a reserve future deal. Bobby Price was on the roster as well, and then I think they released him or something like that. Or I don't know if they released him or not. But I know he was on the practice squad. He did play in 3 games this year. He played against Dallas, where he was primarily on special teams. He did play against Cincinnati on Monday Night Football, where he did get a tackle. And he did play against the Giants, where I think he played primarily on special teams. But yeah, let's get to Deebo. So Deebo requested a trade. I think anyway the Niners are going to try to move on anyway. He had a rough season. Man, I do see some people mixed on Debo Samuel. He said that he went into the exit meeting. He talked to Kyle Shanahan, and they had like a heartfelt heart-to-heart or whatever, and then he requested a trade. Then he was wearing the Eagles jersey at Radio Row, which was pretty odd because remember, he was like complaining, like going at the Eagles when they lost to the Eagles, like saying, oh, the Eagles are frauds and they only won because we were hurt and injured and stuff like that. So I was very surprised to see him wearing Eagles jersey. You could see his stomach sticking out like a beer belly out of the jersey. And, you know, people talk about Luka Doncic being fat and out of shape. I mean, Deebo clearly looks fat and out of shape, honestly. But to me, I would pass on Debo Samuel. I feel like you can do better than that. I feel like I'd rather have Chris Godwin. I'd rather sign Chris Godwin than Debo Samuel. Obviously, T. Higgins if you can get him. And then I would rather sign Amari Cooper. I'd rather trade for Garrett Wilson. There's so many things I'd rather do at the wide receiver position than trading for Debo Samuel. And his contract is not great either. So I get the connection with Adam Peters. And then the whole NFL Rums Twitter page, which is a rumor site, which some of the stuff they for the most part they gotten that stuff wrong. But you know, lightning, you know, there's a blue moon every blue moon. That site or that page gets something correct because they did say on February 9th, or I think like February 8th, something like that, that the Niners will most likely part ways with Deebo. I think that everybody saw the writing on the wall, especially how his season went out. Now, he does have a potential out in 2025 in his contract. So he signed a 3-year, $71 million deal, $23 million per year. Remember, he requested a trade, and then they gave him an extension, and then they've like restructured his contract a couple times. But there is an out in 2025. He's a free agent after 2025. He's 28 right now. That he'll be 29 next year. And then he will be a unrestricted free agent after the 2025 season. So I get the connection with Adam Peters and San Fran for sure. And they won a lot there. They went to the Super Bowl a couple times. And, you know, he was a really good player a couple times as he calls himself a wide back. I don't think we need a wide back. We need a wide receiver. We need somebody who can separate and get open. And he's just not that guy anymore. We don't need a... You know, we could use a gadget player and whatnot, but we need a number 2 next to Terry that can create separation and get open, and also take the top off the defense, or big body somebody and you know, a contested catch person. You know, I'm not really looking for, and it's not up to me, of course, but just for a behind the line of scrimmage guy where you're doing reverse and jet sweeps and Curtis Samuel type stuff. Like we need a legitimate wide receiver, a separator. We need a like I said, T. Higgins, Garrett Wilson, somebody of that like Debo Samuel legit was like the 3rd or 4th option, really the 4th option. Jawan Jennings had a better season than him. Brandon Ayuk before he got injured. George Kittle, of course, is one of the best tight ends in the NFL. Top 5, clearly top 3 in the NFL. And then you had Deebo. Like Deebo was complaining, getting on Twitter, complaining about touches. In that Bills game, you go and you know what he did after he complained and went on Twitter and moaned and complained about not getting the football. He dropped the pass. He dropped a couple passes. The Rams game, he had 2 big drops in the game. He had a potential game-winning drop against the Rams. Too many drops. He had 6 drops on the season. You can't complain that much and drop the football. The way that he did, he dropped the football too much to complain like that. And then he punched the long snapper after missing the kick. So imagine what he would have did to Austin Seibert in that Dallas game out there. Austin Seibert missed that extra point. So you talk about a culture standpoint too. I just don't think he's a guy that really physical. Getting on Twitter and complaining and stuff like that, and then you go out there and drop passes. Like, that's just like, yeah, no, we're good on that. I'm good on that. I don't want to see Deebo anywhere near this team. Honestly, I really don't. I don't want to see him near this team. And there were some games where he really disappeared. Like, look at some of his numbers. There was a stretch. So let's start from November 17th till December 12th. Against the Seahawks, he had 4 catches for 22 yards. Against Green Bay, he had 1 catch for 21 yards. Buffalo, 4 catches for 20 yards. Chicago, 2 catches for 22 yards. The Rams, 3 catches for 16 yards. Then against the Dolphins, he had 7 catches for 96 yards, and they lost that game 29-17 against the Dolphins. And then the last game of the season, he had 1 catch for 5 yards and a touchdown. He probably checked out anyway. But he had a stretch of 5 games under 25 yards receiving. Like, Noah Brown is better than that. Diami, the way he played in the playoffs, is better than that. Like, I'm not trading any picks. Like, I just that would be inexcusable. That would be malpractice by Adam Peters. Him and Cooper Kupp, there's a legitimate chance both those guys get cut and released. There's a legitimate shot that Debo Samuel definitely gets released. And I can see that happen. There's a couple stats that I found about how bad Debo Samuel was this year, as far as like separation and not catching the football. He got a good amount of targets too. So Debo Samuel is ranking in key stats: yards 43rd amongst wide receivers, 75th for touchdowns. Drop percentage, he's ranked 29th, which is pretty awful. Catch rate over expected, 62nd among wide receivers, which is pretty darn bad. Yards per route run, 31st. PFF receiving grade, 33rd. Passer rating when targeted, 34th. EPA per target, 76th out of all receivers. So he was pretty darn bad, man. Like I said, Juwan Jennings was better than him. Brandon Ayuk better before he got injured. George Kittle, the better receiving target or receiving option. Like, he was just bad, man. He's not that same guy. He's not that same guy. He's not that guy. He's not that guy anymore, pal. He's just not. He's just not. So this is the guy that we saw from the 2021 season, where he had 1,405 yards. Then 2022 he had 632 receiving yards. 2023 had 892, which is pretty good. 15 games, 892. Don't forget about the rushing, of course. 37 rushes for 225 yards and 5 touchdowns, which is pretty legit as a wide receiver. And then this past season, 670 receiving yards off of 51 catches, 3 touchdowns, and then rushing 42 rushes for 136 yards and a touchdown. So just the complaining, the body language, the antics, and punching the long snapper in the face. Like, I'm good, man. I just don't think he's good enough to warrant that, and the complaining and stuff like that. Like, we don't need somebody in James' ear complaining and being dropping passes at the same time. Like, I'll pass on that. Like I said, there's better options out there. Just better options. There really are, where you don't have to settle for Deebo early in the process. Like, free agency's coming up in March, literally a month from now. And then maybe Garrett Wilson requests a trade, he becomes available. You just don't know. So I wouldn't bite the bullet here and make a move for Debo Samuel so quick when I feel like there's going to be better options free agency-wise. And there may be somebody who requests a trade, maybe even in April. You just never know how things go during the season. You just never know. So, yeah, I'll pass on the wide back in Debo Samuel. And like I said, I really feel like he's out of shape too. Like, he's not separating or anything like that. He's just not getting we need somebody to get separation. That's what we need for sure. All right, let's talk about Bobby Price here. So Bobby Price, he was on the roster, like I said it before. He played against Dallas, Cincy, and the Giants. He was also on the Lions and the Cardinals. Now, he played meaningful snaps for the Lions. He had 2 starts and played in 15 games for the Lions in 2021. Had a big play against Aaron Rodgers where he helped the Lions to get a key stop against Aaron Rodgers when Aaron Rodgers was on the Packers. You look at some of his advanced numbers in 2021, he gave up a 44% completion percentage, which is pretty darn good, and a 76.9 quarterback rating in 2021, which is pretty darn good in 2 starts. Was targeted 18 times, only gave up 8 completions. And then in 2022, he was targeted 4 times, played in 5 games, and gave up 2 completions and gave up 132.3 quarterback rating and a touchdown allowed, which is pretty darn bad. So with us, he didn't play a defensive snap at all, it looks like. It looks like for the most part he played special teams. So, yeah, with us, he had 0 snaps on 11 on 11. But special teams, he had 34 snaps. So he played, 45%. of his snaps. 34 snaps were all special teams. So that's really the write up on him. But he did have a crazy relative athletic score coming out of Norfolk State. I know I'm probably saying Norfolk wrong because people say that all the time. But he has some elite numbers, man. He's in that 2020 draft class. He's undrafted, but he had a 43-inch vertical leap, which is insane. Like, that means you can windmill, 360, all kinds. Like, he could be in the dunk contest if he wanted to. With a 43-inch vert, three-cone drill, 8.52, which is insane. Short shuttle, 9.27, which is really good, great. Broad jump, 9 point. He's an athlete, man. I think he ran track as well. 40-yard dash, 4.4, 40-yard dash. And then looking at Norfolk State, some of the numbers when I talked about earlier when we signed him to the practice squad, he was voted to the All-MEAC second team. So he went to HBCU, Norfolk State, finished the year with 73 tackles his senior year, 2.5 tackles for loss, and had 1 interception, broke up 8 passes, and also returned his 1 interception, 84 yards for a touchdown at Delaware State. So they got an athlete, man. He's from Virginia Beach, Virginia, so a local guy, 6'4", 205 pounds. So he's got some range. He's got some long arms, man. 6'4", running a 4.4 40-yard dash and a 43-inch vert. Like, that is a guy that you do give a reserve future contract on and just see what the guy can do, man. That's an athlete, man. That's an athletic specimen right there, seriously. How tall is he? 6'3", 208. He's 26 years old, so he's still young, man. Still relatively young. So let's see what the guy can do. I know we're not done. Of course, everybody's joking around on social media like, oh my gosh, we signed a cornerback, Bobby Price. And clearly, you know, he's going to be more of a depth guy or a practice squad, just a guy that they keep on the roster, OTAs, mini camp, training camp, and then just give him a shot, see if he can make the roster. I mean, he did make the 53 for a couple games, and see what he can do, you know. So you can never have enough corners out there, especially somebody with some long arms like that and some height to him. Throw him out there and see what happens, man. So, but we definitely have to upgrade this cornerback room for sure. We definitely have to do that. He did play with the Cardinals as well. He did have 1 fumble recovery. He had 4 tackles and 3 solo tackles as well. So that's the write-up on Bobby Price. All right, you guys, as always, you guys let me know what you guys think. Hello, Commanders. Peace.